Twittery thingy.
Yep, it's sent.
I don't know why I retweet.
Because you have more followers than PHP Ugly. Which is a shame.
Breed. Bread, not breed.
God damn it. This is why I shouldn't tweet this late at night after I've been drinking. Although that could be fun too, breeding and...
Breed milk and toilet paper? Sounds about right.
Make sure you correct that on your retweet, will you?
I call breed. John's milk.
Oh my god! You know, I try to do a quick tweet, and this is why I shouldn't. All right, ready to go, or do we want to talk? Take it. We're ready to go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Ready to go.
All right. You're listening to episode 131 of PHP Ugly, the premier podcast for fruit carving in California.
What?
Fruit carving and fruit carving accessories. I am your host.
It's some new thing he's doing.
Eric
I don't
Van Johnson.
Get it.
With me, as always, except when they're not here, like John, is John.
We're at episode 131. I think I've been on all of 10 episodes.
I'm pretty sure you've rounded it out to a nice even 13. Also with me, sitting in my co-pilot seat, is my good friend, Tom Rightup.
Aww.
Why are we talking so
slow?
Happy
you made parole, Thomas.
I am in such extraordinary pain.
What's up? Why would you be in pain?
My wife is encouraging me to work out, which
my clock is ticking on that. I've already made a commitment to John when we get into the new office that we're going to start to go to the gym and work out a little bit. So I've been eating a lot of candy. Been burning through some Twizzlers. You know, I gotta finish all this stuff before the workout starts because you know won't be able to eat it after. So.
That is bigger than a cinder block.
This is 5 pounds. So technically, scientifically, I should not gain any more than 5 pounds eating this whole box.
If that's all works. You eat, yes. Like if that's now what you have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I'm on the Twizzler diet now. That's all I eat. Twizzlers.
Heading straight towards Diabetesville.
It's the Type 2 Express.
Yeah.
So you're in a lot of pain from working out.
Yeah.
What is working out for you?
You jumping in too far, too fast?
Well,
yeah, he walked upstairs. Yeah, that was.
No, I did arm curls, and now I can't reach my keyboard. It's extraordinarily painful.
Oh man.
But
yeah,
the pain makes my wife smile, so yeah, I can't fight it.
2 weeks,
that's
man.
One thing when we start, it's going to be slow because I don't want to be in pain. Not that I don't want to be in. I'm fine being in a little bit of pain, but I still want to be able to go out and play Ultimate, and I don't want to be
I was about to say,
in too much pain.
Yeah, and you want the pain sort of generalized in both arms, not just right in the shoulder of the left arm.
Yeah. You're always in a little discomfort when you start working out, just because you're using muscles you don't typically use. So I'm looking forward to racquetball. We're supposed to, John and I are talking about taking up racquetball, so I'm looking forward to that. I haven't done anything athletic in a while. It'd be nice to Nice to get out there and get moving again.
Yep. Looking forward to it. Speaking of office, my gosh, it's driving me nuts.
Jeez.
We were supposed to be in there a week ago, and it's like nonstop issues.
Yeah.
Today, we were supposed to have the carpet installed today, and they couldn't because it was raining. It never rains in California, especially Southern California, and it was freaking raining the past couple of days.
Yep. It's one thing after another. The carpet is the last thing. We've been
you think
assured.
I went in there today. It was still an absolute mess in there. They were in the process of cleaning up, but there was still equipment and just dirt and just crap
free equipment
everywhere.
Yeah, help them clean up into your car.
There were still electric outlets hanging out of the walls and light switches hanging out, but we're getting all new switches and outlets, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
At least look nicer.
Just would like to get in there. I like to actually
Yeah.
use it. So we have a little celebration this week, Thomas.
I heard. I got invited to take the poll on what food would be available at the Christmas party.
Oh, that's not what I was going to.
Not to actually consume any food.
No, that's that's not the direction I was going with this. We have something else to celebrate.
What's that?
Our young developer is becoming a man. He popped his Laravel cherry finally.
Ooh.
John had
gross way of putting it.
I'm sure I'll get some hate comments on that one. Eric, that's not funny. Be more sensitive. Yeah.
That's just your family.
That's just my daughters. I know.
So what I know about myself is I'm a good hacker. I'm a good developer on existing projects. You give me some code, I can figure it out. I can add to it, build upon it, improve it, hopefully. But when it comes to writing things from scratch, I am not good. Every time I sit down to do it, I get lost.
Really
mental blocks left and right.
I would be surprised.
Something just I've tried on a few of the ideas you and I've had. I'll sit down here and start working on something and just for some reason can't get started.
So I will support the fact that John is probably hands down one of the best debuggers I've ever seen. He can jump into a code base he's never seen before that's having a problem and track down where the problem is and how to fix it. So I've seen this in action, and I'm not even exaggerating. It's exhilarating to watch him do it.
Yeah,
but I find it hard to believe, given a clean slate, you suffer some sort of writer's block.
It's bad. It's really bad. And we finally, on the main project I'm working on, decided to segment off. There was already a semi-microservice, even though it's not really a microservice, on a server, kind of separate from everything else. Horribly written because it was written 10, 15 years ago. And it's stuck on 5.3 right now. Like, trying to upgrade the entire server might be bad because we don't know what code is on there, or like what's actually being used. So the decision was made, let's rewrite it, use a framework, have it live off on a separate machine in Amazon, which is great. Like everything I want to hear. And I can finally make it a microservice because I've been wanting to actually dive into that world quite a bit. And I started down there. I got Laravel installed, and I was able to get Docker running locally with it. So I was getting those pieces, but actually sitting down and starting with the API endpoint for some reason was just not clicking. And I was supposed to work with Eric this morning to, have him give me some pointers, and for some reason we never got around to it. So I started again on it this afternoon and was running into some errors and just was driving me nuts, and reached out to Eric, and he was a jerk about it. He's like, "Oh, it makes perfect sense to me."
I kind of went back and read my response, and I realized I was kind of a jerk. John posted the error in Slack. No questions, no anything. Just post the error. I'm like, yeah, okay, seems pretty self-explanatory. He goes, fine. I'm like, wait, what? Was there a question? Did you have a question?
he said he did say that. Seems pretty self-explanatory. Do you need some help with that? I said, guess not. You said it's self-explanatory. So I went up and I did figure it out. I got it working. But it was just it's turning into a fun project. I'm happy to finally be moving forward with it.
See, I'm looking
Definitely
back on
needed.
previous things Eric has said. Just picking him at random and seeing if he sounds like a jerk. So the most recent thing he said in Slack was Daryl asked if he would get a tour of the office, and Eric responded, "Nope."
Because they were putting the carpet in.
That was the next line, but the first response was just no. No, you won't.
He's good at that initial jerk response, and then tries to soften it.
I get to the answer. I don't pussyfoot around. No, you're not going to get a tour. I'll tell you why if you want to know, but you're not getting a tour. You guys.
Thomas, you alluded to this coming week. The other thing that's going on is our holiday party.
Yes,
And
the glorious holiday party.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's been stressful trying to come up with the menu, and Eric likes to make fun of me because I have become vegetarian and I'm working towards becoming vegan.
What?
And yeah. And so trying to plan a menu. A couple of months now.
About 3 days after his heart attack.
I was gonna say a couple of months. If you haven't mentioned it and it's been a couple of months, then you're not really a vegetarian yet, because it's supposed to be like the first day you start telling everybody.
No,
how great he feels, how wonderful his life is.
Do you know meat is murder, right?
Between that and playing Ultimate, I mean, he's really kind of rounding out nicely.
Are you working on dreadlocks?
That's next. That's next with the marijuana, right? Is that the way I'm supposed to go? All hippy dippy.
Yeah. Do some hacky sack in between disc sessions.
Now, after the heart attack, I went way more vegetarian, but was still having meat once in a while. But it's probably been. I was trying not to have any meat when we went to PHP World, and ended up having meat on the airplane because I didn't request a vegetarian meal, and I was starving.
Not really meat.
It's meat.
It's the tuna of the land.
I'm pissed off because my little foodie buddy is gone now. Guy I used to enjoy going out, and we'd grab a steak and a couple of beers or some wings, and lost that forever.
But maybe you've gained learning about some alternatives. I had a vegetarian.
I told you, the dude on dude thing is still gay, no matter what you call it.
So there's no problem with that. Had my first vegetarian Thanksgiving, and the tofurkey was actually really good.
Talking about this.
It was good.
You're looking bad. You're looking bad, man.
The kids literally ran out of tears. It was great. They cried so much that just empty sockets.
I applaud people who are vegetarians. It's not a lifestyle for me. I couldn't do it.
Wait, you say that. You don't know that for a fact.
No, I know for a fact.
Yeah, no, I'm on board. I think me and Eric both know that that's not happening.
I would literally start gnawing on my own fingers.
I said the same thing months ago.
On my own fingers. Yeah.
Same thing.
With
I would gnaw on my own fingers.
They're different people.
Anyway, it gives me a new appreciation for people that run conferences well, because I didn't do a very good job with this at Wave. And there are people that have those restrictions, like, no, I want a vegetarian meal. So this coming Wave PHP, I'm going to try and be more accommodating to people.
Oh, God.
Okay, so
hey, I was bringing up Wave PHP.
So that, you know what that means? We're going to pay $50 a plate for like carrots and celery.
Yeah. So far, John has told us about how he's a vegetarian going vegan, and that he's going to be doing CrossFit soon.
Possibly.
You got to get those things out. You got to get them out there. People need to know.
Where that came from, but that was good.
Can't talk to you guys about anything.
No, you can.
You can send random error messages in Slack and let Eric just shit all over him.
I really need to take it. Like, I want to have one of those like days where like the ghost of Christmas past comes and visits me, and I can see how I actually interacted with people, because in my weird world I feel like I'm very nice and accommodating, but everybody thinks I'm so mean.
What's going to happen too is that the ghosts of Christmas past are going to show up and say, "Hey, Eric, we're building a team. You're on board." Aren't you here to help me? No.
No. Your ticket was up a long time ago, buddy.
Yeah. We thought we got you with that testicle thing, but woof, close call.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm sharing this with you guys, but
and the rest of the world.
But I actually have to go get a mammogram now. Yeah, that's one of the things about having cancer. No matter how long ago it's been over 10 years for me. I've been cancer free for 10 years.
Vegetarian.
They won't say cured for whatever reason. They never say cured. They always say in remission. I mean, that's just
because the implication that they have liability anymore.
Right. But of course, I'm having some issues, and right off the bat, everybody reacts a certain way, and next thing you know, I'm having to call the women's center and come in for a mammogram, and the lady is talking to me, and she's like, yes, this is a women's center, but occasionally we do this for men, so let me tell you what to prepare for. I'm like, yeah, no, it's all right. I've done this before. It's like, this ain't my first mammogram.
So the key is when they put you in those plates and squeeze you together, you got to go, like that.
Well, the last time I had this done, and if you've never met me in person, I'm a rather large individual. I'm about 6'5", 350, so I'm not a small person. And last time I had this done, and as you can imagine, they're done in the office, and the people doing it are very women focused for obvious reasons. And I walk in, and the nurse who is doing this for me, she has to be, I'm not exaggerating, she has to be about 4'9", 4'10". And she looks at me and she goes, "Somebody really should have told me you were coming." She goes, "I don't know if my machine's going to work for you." And because they only go up to a certain height. And she's like, "I would have sent you to another office." So I ended up having to do this weird little squat thing with my chest out, and it was uncomfortable.
He had to put his cigar away and put down his scotch. It's intimidating going to a women's medical center. You gotta make yourself manly somehow. You go, "Hey, yeah, I'm here.
You're kind of hot."
I do you.
Yeah, no.
Oh my gosh.
Here to get my boobs squeezed. So I'm trying to.
I like walking out. I just walk out back in the lobby and go, "Whew, not pregnant, thank God."
You were concerned just minutes ago that you were going to get crap on Twitter about this episode.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
pretty much nailed that one down.
I'm your shield man. I'll take this one.
Oh, man. How do we go from talking about John's first Laravel project to me getting a mammogram?
I don't know.
It was a weird arc.
You worried about me oversharing, and you went like over the cliff. Hey, we have good news though. Other good news. PHP 7.3 was released.
Yes. PHP
See, I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it back to PHP somehow. I'll
Good
just
job.
crowbar it in there.
Who's excited?
No.
No?
No. It's a super boring release.
Yeah. You know, those are the best releases, though. Those are the ones you want. Just, hey, this is just making things better. No issues upgrading here.
There's a major issue upgrading.
What's that?
The declaration and use of case-insensitive constants has been deprecated. So old stuff that was defining constants as not all uppercase is going to throw deprecation warnings all over the place now. That's the big gotcha in this version.
Yeah, but it's
That's just
not breaking it.
deprecation, though.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not breaking anything.
Yeah. The only feature that I saw that I cared about even remotely was that they added HR time, which is a high resolution time stamp. So now you can use that. Yeah.
I was pretty good with my timestamps already. So
Besides that, that's just bug fixes and library upgrades and stuff like that. Not very exciting. 7.4 is going to be the really exciting one. Lots of new stuff, but
That's still a year away.
yep. But what we did see is the 2018 Laravel survey.
well,
You-
before we move
you
on
ready
to
for
that,
this one?
hold on. Before we move on to that, we would be remiss if we would not be considered good PHP media people if we didn't mention the fact that we have a lot of end of lives happening now. We're in December of 2018. No more 5.6, no more 7.0. So if you're out there, if that's a big deal to you, and it really kind of should be, but quite honestly, I've got a lot of 5.6 stuff out there still. And I mean, the 7 stuff, not that bad. I think everything I have is on 7.1 or 7.2 now.
Yeah,
Oh,
now 5.6
other
actually
stuff.
has support until January 1st, but 7 is
Right.
dead.
7 is dead. Yeah. We're
Yeah.
the clock is ticking on 5.6. I mean, we're in December. That's what I'm saying. So, if that's a big deal to you guys, you need to make that effort. I'm really curious about the people. I know what's holding up some of our code bases, but curious about what's holding up some other people's code bases. Where are you at, John? I know your team, the project you're working on was, I mean, we if you listen to the early days of PHP Ugly, we were giving you a hard time about still being on PHP 4. So I know you've had quite the struggle. Are you guys up to speed?
No, still on 5.6. I've opened PRs left and right to make it 7 compatible, and the last PR went live yesterday actually, and that was upgrading. There was one usage of mcrypt in the library, so that had to be changed out for libsodium, which got that up and running. So now it's a matter of getting it into final testing. So spinning up a 7.2 server and then get QA on it. So theoretically, possibly by the end of the year, they'll actually pull the trigger and upgrade everything, but I'm not holding my breath on that. It'll probably be sometime in January, Q1 of next year.
And again, monolithic application, legacy code. I mean, all the just everything across the board, which makes moving from any version to any version challenging. So
yeah, I was actually looking through the code on something else today and found a comment from 2006 where it said, "This is meant to be an obfuscation tool, and not for serious security." Oh man,
I like the honesty of it.
yeah. The sad part is, never mind. I won't get into that. It's pretty bad.
All right, so you want to talk about Laravel survey, Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're just sort of known for that now. It's a shorter survey than I remember it being. Have you guys taken a look at it?
Yeah, I looked at it, and I agree with you. It did seem very short.
We're gonna have the same complaints about it that we did last year.
No, my complaint is refined.
We have all new targeted complaints.
It's the same one complaint, but with greater evidence.
Go for it. I have a feeling it's gonna be around enterprise information.
Whoa! Spoilers. It's about one specific question, which is Laravel is mature and robust enough for A, enterprise projects, B, medium projects, or C, small projects.
Mm-hmm.
Where when you hit 2 questions before that, what size Laravel projects do you work on? Medium, small. Enterprise, or small?
Yeah. That's my issue in this one is that the questions, the answers to the questions do not match up.
But I mean, some of them are opinionated, and quite honestly, I mean, depending on what part of enterprise, I don't want to beat this horse anymore. But the code itself, if you're saying, can I take the Laravel framework into an enterprise environment and write applications using it? Yeah, absolutely. Is it enterprise supported? No, it's not enterprise supported, but if you work in an enterprise, that's nothing new. And I've shared this before. You're always introducing new edge case solutions in enterprise. The difference is when it's not quote unquote enterprise ready, you have to jump through additional hoops and take additional precautions and give additional justifications on why you want to use it, but you can use it. I think Laravel is the perfect example of that, where if you're an enterprise shop that develops in PHP, introducing Laravel into projects seems like a very reasonable thing to do. And if you have to have justifications on why you want to use that framework over another framework, say something like Symfony that may have enterprise support, those are the sort of hoops you would have to jump through. So the question is a little misleading. Is it mature and robust enough for enterprise? Sure, the code base is. The structure around it does not make it enterprise ready, and we don't have to rehash all that. We can if listeners in Discord are interested in our arguments of why Laravel is not enterprise ready, ping us and we'll circle back on this. But that's my honest opinion on it.
My issue with it is just that the survey is asking what I consider very pointed questions for the kinds of people who would take the survey.
And I was going to say, the other thing is you only have Laravel developers probably responding to the survey.
Right. And you know, when they say, why did you choose Laravel? 1,000 people said ease of use. The next highest response is 250 people saying documentation, which falls under ease of use. And the next 225 say community. Only 61 people said performance, and 39 people said other. What size project do you work on? Overwhelmingly medium, quote unquote, medium projects. Is it mature enough for enterprise? Overwhelmingly, yes. It's like, it's people who aren't working in enterprise projects and aren't working for companies that have more than 10 employees saying, absolutely, IBM should use this. And it's like, to me, that's the ridiculous part. Is it that the things don't relate correctly.
The next question is kind of interesting too, because it's almost a 50-50 split on this one. They say, are you able to find the quality and quantity of Laravel developers you need? 400 said yes, 350 said no. It's like, wow, that's a weird kind of split on that question.
Yeah. And overwhelmingly, the response to "I'd love it if there were more Laravel ... is tutorials.
That's
like
of all the questions, that was the one that bugged me the most.
That drives me nuts. Like, you understand this is the most well-covered framework as far as tutorials ever right? in the history of frameworks ever.
Maybe they should have said free tutorials. Maybe that's it. Even then, I would argue that there are probably more free tutorials on Laravel than anybody else. Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, really tutorials?
As a newer Laravel developer, where can I go find these so-called tutorials? Because I've been struggling for a couple of days now.
Hey, listen, we'll let you know as soon as we get a sponsorship money from one of them.
From the one of them.
We've talked about it enough on the show for free. Laracast. If you're listening and you happen to not know what we're talking about, it's Laracast. Hands down, if you're learning Laravel and you don't know where to start or are confused about something, go to Laracast. 100% guaranteed they have a video tutorial about it somewhere.
There's currently 1,402 lessons on Laracast, totaling up 237 hours of video.
And Laracast is not the only source. It's probably the source of truth in the Laravel community. There's a lot of history there. Jeffrey Way has been with Laravel, been very involved with Laravel from a very long time, if you're not aware of who he is.
He's literally Taylor Otwell's Tyler Durden.
There are probably a dozen other of these online courses that have Laravel-specific courses. I mean, just about any of them now have it. And they're all pretty good, so check it out. Sticking in that same metrics, though, I found regional conferences interesting. That had a pretty strong showing of over 500. And I'm wondering if by regional conference, they're talking, so more Laravel conferences have been popping up across the globe. So there's this year Laravel Australia happened. There's always been Laravel AU, and then I think there was another Laravel in England, some Laravel England conference. There's a Laravel conference in India, and I want to say there's one more that's popping up. I'm curious if that's the regional conferences they're talking about, or if they're even getting more micro like that, more micro in the sense of I like to see more like country regional conferences where there's one a Laravel, maybe a Laracon West Coast, Laracon East Coast. I'm curious about what people's motivation to regional conferences was. Meetups still made a strong showing, which I feel so bad about, but I mean, we just couldn't support our meetup anymore. It was nice. I mean, it was good in its heyday. We had a lot of people, but the last year or two of its existence, we kind of whittled down to about a dozen people, and there just wasn't a whole lot to talk about, and so that went away.
Yeah, I stopped going because I moved here, and oddly enough, numbers just dwindled after that.
Yeah, it's just something about me always yelling at people. I don't know, making Marcus cry. I don't know what the hell that was about, but good stuff. Podcast. I guess we could talk more about Laravel on this podcast. Maybe people will listen to us.
Well, we do have a Laravel thing actually. Still, you announced at the very end of last week's episode that you're now using Forge, which
Holy
is
crap. I announced a
Laravel product.
John, we need to talk about last week's episode because I went back through and listened to it, and I announced a lot of things.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hold on, before we get there, did you say what the announcement was for next week? The big thing happening next week where we started the show?
Yeah. You talking about last week?
No, we started this week's show. You were saying there's a something going on this week. Or next week.
No, he was... Are you talking about where you went into the holiday party? And
yes.
Are you listening to the show at all, Thomas?
Trying very hard. I'm in so much pain.
Yes. I was referencing the fact that John did his first Laravel project.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. But back to Forge. Yeah. So I finally broke down. As we announced last week, we acquired Mission Control, getmissioncontrol.io, for all your monitoring needs. Getmissioncontrol.io. Check it out now. Getmissioncontrol.io.
What was that?
You got to say it 3 times and don't interrupt.
Getmissioncontrol.io.
I had to say the same thing last week.
Missioncontrol.io.
You should probably register Git Mission Control anyways.
Yeah, it probably should. Right? Somebody else will. But where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. So as we were transferring the servers and stuff over to us, they were on DigitalOcean, which is one of the environments that John and I work in. And we're like, okay, well, let's just switch, switch the images over to us. And I noticed that he was using Forge because it has a directory structure. It's pretty obvious that that they were using Forge. So we have somebody in our team who uses Forge, and I reached out to him. I'm like, dude, do you really feel like you get a benefit from using Forge? And he's like, yeah, sort of, but not too much, and not a huge benefit. And so I looked at Forge, I looked at the costs, I looked at what it was doing. And quite honestly, it's one of those services where it's doing just enough, especially at the level we're using it. It's doing just enough to make it worth it. So if you're not familiar, Forge is a product by Taylor Otwell, the creator of Laravel. And it's made as kind of a middleman to help you do deployments and configure servers. So you still have to pay for your servers on DigitalOcean or AWS or Linode. There are a couple services that he supports. So you still pay for those services, and then you pay Taylor to use the Forge product, and it spins up servers and does a few things. Things like manages certs for you, which is nice. All things that we've mainly done in the past, and we've written scripts for, and things like that. It's just, yeah, for what we're spending on it, and we get the higher end tier. I think was like $400 a year. We'll probably benefit from it. I mean, I've been migrating servers over to the Forge servers we have. So we can shut down some of our legacy apps, and just being able to spin up new sites and hook it into Git. You have the ability to hook it into a branch, like your master branch, and every time you do a push to master, it will auto deploy to your Forge server. Things like that, which, like I said, aren't super overwhelming to do yourself and to write scripts for, but it's just nice not to have to worry about it. So we'll probably get a financial benefit out of it, because I've complained for years about, we at DiegoDev, we don't have dedicated ops people. We don't have people who all they do is work on servers. So it's always a developer, or John or myself, having to take time to do this stuff. And occasionally you like it because it's fun to get in there and do it, but when all you need is like a new site, like we're spinning up a site for Wave, I'm like, oh god damn, I don't feel like writing the script to renew the Let's Encrypt cert every 3 months, writing the script to do the auto deploy, doing this, doing that. And with Forge, it's kind of all taken care of. So I am liking it.
Via Forge, you can now upgrade to PHP 7.3 pretty easily.
Right.
Yeah, it does
Brandon,
have some nice features. It does some minor security maintenance as well. But Matt Lance, friend of the show, talked about it in Discord earlier, and his general attitude was that it wasn't a cure-all. This is not a replacement for DevOps. It's just a nice thing to have to cover your ass on a couple things. But there are still things you need to worry about, like Nginx updates and trying to update the platform as a whole, trying to update your kernel and stuff like that, where you still need to do some manual work on it.
Yeah, and I did get called out. I guess I had referred to Syntax Seed as a dude at some point, and she was pleasant enough to message me on Discord. It's like, I'm not a dude. I have a couple of kids.
Not a dude, and, bro.
Yeah. So that was my fault. But she actually had a good question. She was mentioning, and I don't remember exactly how the question was worded, but essentially, hey, if I already have my server spun up, if I already have it configured, does it make sense to pay for Forge if I'm not doing anything to the server? And again, that's just like a value question. For what we do and how we do it, I would be okay with it. But if it was like me personally, and even if I forget, I think the lower tier is like $20 a month. I mean, it's not particularly cheap. At $20 a month, having your certs get renewed for you, managing your firewall for you. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It'd be hard.
They seem like nice Patreon benefits for supporting Taylor.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what you're doing, right? And it doesn't help that DigitalOcean has, and I'm not even sure if she was using DigitalOcean. I don't remember if she told us what service she was using, but DigitalOcean.
Oh, yeah, she was.
Yeah, they within the last year have added like firewalls so that you can actually manage your own firewalls now through their interface, and you don't have to log into each individual server and configure the firewall on the server. So DigitalOcean, they're enabling these services now that are making it easier to manage this stuff. It's because when you spin up a server through Forge, you still have complete access. It's still your server on your DigitalOcean account. You can shut down Forge and the server keeps going. You don't have to worry about that. And she's obviously aware of that. So the question just becomes, what benefit is it after the server spun up? What benefit is there having Forge? And depends on how much of an ops person. She had alluded to the fact that she was learning ops, and so she wanted to learn some of the stuff like assembly and Ansible, and a few of the other automation tools out there. And honestly, I mean, you're going to end up shooting yourself in the foot. Every ops person does it, and that's how you're going to learn to get better.
Oh, yeah. You'll eventually figure out that when you try to switch from MySQL file per table to turn that on, that you've completely hosed yourself.
Yeah.
The push to deploy is nice. The fact getting any sort of deployment strategy down takes time to learn.
Yeah, this is true. And you still have to babysit it, I mean, that's the thing. Is like, even with like, I had a script that would renew all my Let's Encrypts because the Let's Encrypts is only good for like 3 months, so you have to renew. And there are all these little scripts out there that allow you to auto renew, and I have them deploy, and 90% of the time they go off without a hiccup. But then there's always that 10% of the time where you get an email that says, "Hey, your cert's about to expire. Do you want to do something about that?" And it's like, damn, it's like, yeah, I guess I got to go in that box and see why it's not renewing. And you have to kind of walk through everything. The other thing I do like about Forge is, and you don't get this with AWS or with DigitalOcean, is being a consulting firm and being somebody who has a lot of websites. It's nice to have it all in an interface where I can look and see, because as I was migrating stuff over, I'm logging into old servers. I'm like, wow, crap, this site is still out here. Why do we still have this out here? And there's so much stuff out there that was just like dead sites that you forget about the configuration. You don't go in there and look at it. And we still had like the call for papers for Wave out there. Just a bunch of old stuff that didn't need to be out there anymore. And with Forge, you have a nice little interface that shows you all the sites you have configured. And I like that. That's fun. So yeah, I'm using Forge. I think I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna stick with it for at least a year because I paid for a year up front. So.
I'm amazed that this next issue is not a ticket on your column here. Do you see what I'm talking about here?
I'm actually moving forward. Oh, we were talking about this today, and I told the developers, I'm like, it's been so long since I've used Windows. I so strongly don't care about this.
So the thing that Eric doesn't care about is that Microsoft is retooling Edge browser around the Chromium engine, which I think just makes sense. But, Microsoft doing stuff that makes sense is kind of out of the ordinary, so it's interesting. But the interesting stuff to me was the blog post that officially confirmed the rumor. The blog post states, "Our goal is to do this in a way that embraces the well-established open source model that's been working effectively for years. Meaningful and positive contributions that align to long-standing, thoughtfully designed architecture and collaborative engineering." Which, if I told you 5 years ago that was a quote from a Microsoft executive, you'd call me a fucking liar and drag me out in the street.
Well, and what's even funnier is 10 years ago, they could have released that exact same quote building Internet Explorer based on Mozilla, and it would have been just as relevant.
Right. If you're used to seeing your requests from your clients come in saying Mozilla engine, no matter what engine they're actually using.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. This is one step closer to that Linux-based Windows desktop dream that I have, where they abandon proprietary software and they start writing proprietary software on top of the Linux kernel.
Not to sound dumb, but is Firefox using the Chromium
no
engine?
Mozilla.
It's still the Mozilla engine. Well, it has a different name now.
I'm just trying to figure out what is Microsoft Edge going to get out of keeping a browser running the Chromium engine. What's their goal?
To not have to pay for developing their own stupid engine anymore.
Being able to.
So what's the rest of the browser that they're developing getting them?
Default installs on Windows, which points to Bing. You laugh, but that's literally it.
No, I know you're right. Yes.
Yeah. The fact that when you get a brand new Windows machine, it loads up Bing and says, "You don't need Chrome." What? Who needs Chrome? That's dumb.
And Bing is still a thing, huh?
Yeah. And also in the engine components, in the lower levels, the usage reporting can favor sending data to Microsoft. Analytics information can be gathered. They get stuff sent to them instead of to Google. And And when Google says, do you want to send anonymous usage statistics? They kind of don't mean that anymore. That the data is anonymized, but it's still tokenized to you. It just doesn't have your name on it. So they're using that information to still target you, but they're saying it's just anonymous usage statistics, just so we know how people use our browser. But people recently discovered that Google was customizing search results in incognito mode for unlogged in users. So they're still tracking you, even if you're not logged in, because you're still using their system. Microsoft wants a piece of that pie, and they don't want to have to pay for development anymore. And it goes back to why Internet Explorer was created in the first place in the face of Netscape, which is Microsoft felt that software development was where the money was at. Selling licenses to Visual Studio was where the money was. And so they created ActiveX for Internet Explorer and started selling the ActiveX development kit and the Microsoft TechNet subscriptions. But TechNet died last year, not a thing anymore. And ActiveX never took off. Visual Basic for browsers never took off. And the fact that they focused all their attention on being incompatible with everything else ended up being the thing that killed them. So with the new executive in charge of development after Ballmer left, they basically said, these ideas were stupid and lost us a lot of money. Let's get back to modern development. Let other people do it for us for free. Which I can't disagree with.
Yeah. It makes sense. Now can you get somebody to do my development for free? Where I still get a paycheck? That'd be nice.
No.
Oh, come on.
Well, I mean, hey, John, using Laravel. Take it out here, managing data and microservices. Did you want to talk about that at all, or?
Thomas wanted me to talk about it. Do I want to talk about it? No. No,
I wanted you to talk about it so I didn't have to watch it because it's a 20-minute video.
I think it's actually longer than that. I said skip to the 20-minute mark.
Oh yeah, no, it's 52 minutes.
No, it just goes back to I'm very intrigued by microservices. I know there's lots of people out there that just say it's fine to stay in a monolith. We actually hired a consultant just the other day to talk to our developers, and the goal was around a few different topics, APIs being one of them, which was his strong suit. And he was very much on the, if you can, keep it in a monolith. Why go to a microservice? But I've been just watching a ton of videos lately, trying to wrap my head around things even more. I like a lot of the concepts that come with a microservice. Just trying to understand that data flow is the harder part.
Right.
Especially since each microservice has its own, should have its own database. They shouldn't be commingling data. Joining tables in a monolith is super easy. You just say, hey, I want to join a user table with a transaction table. Done. But if you separate out your user microservice and your accounting or transaction microservice, there's no more simple joins. So the video that is linked here answered a lot of those questions for me. It just seemed to lay it out well. You have to kind of think about that stuff up front, and maybe now you have a user transaction microservice that is listening to the events from both your user microservice and your transaction microservice and marries that data together and stores it in a completely new way, so that when you want to join that data, or when you need that joined data, you now ask that service versus trying to mix the other two. It was fascinating. I'm very intrigued and want to keep learning more about it. Event sourcing is the other big topic I'm trying to learn a lot more about.
Yeah, event sourcing is key for us on a couple projects.
Have you guys seen Professor Do?
Nope.
It's like an event sourcing test engine.
Professor Do?
Yeah, I think it's PROOF.
PROOF. How do you spell do?
DO.
Okay. Making sure.
I'm not getting anything, so maybe we can bring it up next week instead of all of us searching.
I had it up for a while. Professor.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that at all.
Boy. Google does not like intentionally trying to misspell professor.
Nope.
It doesn't help. After you say no, that's really how I meant to spell it, then everything else comes up. Proofreading.
Do you have dyslexia? We can help. All right.
Yeah, I know. Event sourcing is a big topic. Yeah, well, there's a lot more to come with that. I'm sure you'll hear from us. John, did you listen to last week's show?
Nope.
I announced the acquisition of Git missioncontrol.io. That's Git missioncontrol.io. If you haven't heard it, it's a monitoring system. Git missioncontrol.io.
Actually, I lied. I did listen because I heard that and freaked out because there's still so much work that needed to be done. So I scrambled quickly to get billing set up and monitor, trying to get Google Analytics moved over to our account.
Yeah,
and
we still have a few things to update.
And again, not being a Laravel person, it's like I know enough to get messy in there. So I found out some silly little things with Google Analytics, and I changed the view, and still in the template there was 2 places for your ID to show up, and it changed in one but not in the other, and it was driving me absolutely nuts.
Yeah,
I still don't know why it worked in one spot but not the other.
I knew a reboot was going to work, but yeah, I don't know. We did everything that should have cleared that cache, and
it had to have been Nginx reverse proxying or reverse caching or proxy caching, whatever it is. The Nginx had to have been involved, but you said you even restarted Nginx.
I had restarted Nginx, yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, that was a pain.
I cleared the cache using PHP Artisan. I rebuilt views. I tried almost every PHP Artisan command I could think of to clear that out. And looking at the view that was compiled in the storage directory, it was correct. It would change because it was hard coded in the view originally. And then it had changed to the get env or whatever that command was in both places. So it matched and should have been returning correctly. It just was not. It just drove me nuts. Anyway.
Well, I'm super excited you're coding in Laravel now. Maybe you'll actually ask me questions I can answer for you.
I tried and I got a smug little response.
Like, can you stop doing that? Can you please do that?
Ask a question. Okay.
I told you the day before that I was having issues with Laravel. I was having trouble getting an API up and running. So I thought, hey, if I share an error message with him, he'll have some sort of insight. Like, oh, you shouldn't be using you need a collection here, not a.
John, I'm your friend. You can hit me up anytime you need a question answered.
Thanks, Thomas.
All right. I think that's it. I think we're good.
You don't want to talk about Google killing Hangouts?
What? That's a problem, seeing how that's how we do the show.
Well, they're just moving it to Meet. They started it. They
not
started
even
it with
moving. It's so ridiculous. There were a bunch of articles lately that were saying Google's killing Hangouts, Google's killing Hangouts. And what Google actually was talking about was the Hangouts app that's currently in development is going to be merged with another app called Hangouts Meet and Hangouts Chat. And that in no way is Hangouts actually getting killed. And no one has to worry.
Okay,
Wow.
so fake news. Right? Is
Yeah,
that what you're saying?
I dislike that term quite a bit.
Okay,
yes.
so I'm gonna continue down the path of wrapping up the show then.
sounds good to me.
Well, I have questions. See, you put tickets on here and then you ignore them.
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't necessarily need to talk about all of them. I don't have a lot. Which ticket do you do the same thing? By the way, these 2 tickets that are left have been here for how old? Are
Oh,
these?
well, okay. You tell me why they've been left there.
July 18th. And
I'm only allowed so much doom and gloom per episode. Okay, and those tickets have been sitting there waiting for their chance.
Hey, did we find out what happened with SpaceX with the stage 1? Did it landed in the ocean? It completely failed.
It didn't completely fail. It was just one of the landing fins broke while it was trying to land, and then fell in the ocean.
I'm shocked that they're allowed to try and land it over land if something like that could happen. Did they somehow control it to make it land in water since it was out of control?
I'm sure they have like a self-destruct where it just blows the whole thing up.
That's so scary, though. Imagine if it lost control higher up and landed, 10, 20 miles away from the intended spot.
When they do land it over land, it comes in over the ocean to a beachside landing pad. So it's not over when it would have failed, it still would have been over the ocean, and the self-destruct would have just sent it straight down instead of trying to guide it into a landing spot. So I mean, hope. Yeah, but I mean that's why NASA still does the Cape Canaveral launches, because they can guide everything with ocean every direction around them, and if something goes wrong, just blow it up. But no, I'm curious because you put a ticket on here for GraphQL server for Laravel.
Yes, that's
I
interesting.
want to go back to that. So
you're killing me.
Can you imagine that you're already sitting on a ton of fuel that can explode anyway, but to know that there's like dynamite or some other explosive in there that we're like, something's going wrong, let's just blow it up.
Well, one of the tricks with these devices is that all you have to do is compromise the structural integrity a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. So it's not like it's a big block of dynamite or C4.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All they do is basically screw up the aerodynamics, and the thing rips itself apart.
That works when it's way up high, not when it's almost ready to land. Anyway, all right, GraphQL.
It's going real fast. Why are you looking at GraphQL? Because I was looking
I think GraphQL could potentially be the future of APIs, and I'm really curious about this Laravel package for GraphQL, but I haven't had a chance to work with it, hence why I'm not talking about it, because I don't have any more insight there. Just that there's now a pretty popular package out there for GraphQL for Laravel called Lighthouse. And again, something I want to look into, but haven't, henceforth, I'm not talking about it.
Why do you think it's the future of APIs?
You are like, I did a bunch of analytics and people were wanting shorter podcasts. I had this thing under an hour 5 minutes ago.
Bullshit.
I had it under an hour.
Show me the data.
Oh, that's absolutely the data. That's absolutely they want under an hour podcast, and they want under 10-minute quick segments. So if you're like a daily YouTuber or a poster, They're looking for under 10 minutes, and if you're a podcaster, they're looking for under an hour. I'll get the analytics for you and I'll share it with you. But
that's weird because who's the most popular podcaster? It's Joe Rogan, right?
If we stop now, we'll be under an hour once you cut out all the crap. We'll be at like 10 minutes.
All the big noise.
I'm looking at Joe Rogan's podcast, and his is 2 hours and 17 minutes.
You know, people like you kill me when you go to like the top of the tier of like the best and say, well, how's he? Oh, well, you know, people listen to him for 2 hours. You think anybody wants to listen to you for 2 hours, Thomas? No, they don't.
No,
Nobody
I'm just
wants
curious.
to listen to
I thought you had ambitions. I thought you wanted to be the best.
I do, and I want more people listening. And to get more people to listen, we need to adhere to kind of formats that people are willing to consume. That is my goal here.
From my experience, a good portion of our listeners are truck drivers who want something they can listen to for the long haul.
Truck driver, you know, one Gishu is the one truck driver who listens to our show. And
but he's trying to pull up stats.
That's a significant statistical number for our listeners.
That's like 30% of our listeners out there, Eric. Jesus.
I mean, if I can extrapolate from our sample data here in Discord of 51 people, and then our total number of listeners of 500-ish, then that's 10.
The one cross-country truck driving podcast listener. Well, ask him. Well, Gishu, when you hear this podcast, make sure you pop into Discord. You tell us. Matter of fact, everybody who listens to us who's in our Discord, and everybody's welcome. The links are on our website. This is no secret. Pop into Discord. You let us know what you feel is a good amount of rambling that you guys are willing to listen to.
45 minutes is the correct answer. Yeah. Anything other than 45 minutes, you're wrong.
And if you're a Patreon, you get 2 votes.
This is true. Your vote counts twice as a Patreon. We'll not disagree. The Patreon thing, appreciate.
Doesn't matter what level you're a Patreon at.
Nope. That's just one of the cross-platform benefits you have. Your vote counts for double.
We got to put that on the official benefits.
Your vote counts for double.
Count for double.
We care about you more.
Yes. You get 2 votes. There you go. All right, Eric, you're freezing up. Perfect time to end this.
That's right. All right, you've been chomping at the bit. Close it out. I can see you moving. All right, I'll keep going. I've got a great article here on how
we're going to wrap this up.
That's
into
a full program
131 of PHP Ugly, your premier PHP podcast.
Recorded in San Diego Thursday nights.
In San Diego, in Colorado, Rocky. Where are you at?
Colorado Springs.
Oh my God,
Colorado Spring, Rocky area.
It's been 2 years now.
In apparently cross country truck driving #1 voted podcast. Also, I might add, we'll come out with a survey backing all this later.
your #1 enterprise level podcast.
I'm your host, Eric Van Johnson. David is fired. We're firing David. I don't know where that message just came in from, but we're firing him.
What are you talking about?
Oh, a friend of the show, David Kwan, just replied in show questions 1 hour to 1.5 hours.
See? On board. He is on board.
He's trolling you, Thomas.
That's 2 votes. I'd like to mention.
Oh,
that's 2 votes.
That's true.
Wait, pause, time out. Since David is listening, in about 55 minutes, I'd like to say happy birthday, David Kwan.
Oh, happy birthday, David Kwan, DJ in Discord. Make sure you go in there and wish him.
DQ.
What the?
DQ in Discord.
Oh, and we've got a +1 from Frontal Nougaty, which is actually a +2.
He is actually Canadian, so his vote doesn't count. We should put that out there. See, I'm just kidding, Ted. You know your vote counts. Counts in my heart where it matters.
You've been listening to another aerodynamic self-destruction. I'm your senior host, Tom Rideout.
I am your executive host, Eric Van Johnson.
I'm your new Laravel developer, John Congdon.
Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
John!
What?
John!
Keep it ugly.
He said it. Did you not say it?
No, I didn't.
No!
Keep it ugly. Keep it ugly.
This is what happens.
I was so excited to hang up. I was so excited.
It's a total failure. Start over.
You're
We're doing it
PHP.
again. Kill him local.
All right.
Keep it ugly.
God.
Edit that in there somehow.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna.
Oh, man. David, happy birthday, David. What are you, like 50 now? Oh, no. How can we say that? Yeah, let's say that.
I don't know why everyone thinks I'm a dick.
I don't know, man. People just don't like hearing the truth or something. So I was going to talk about it on the show, but I realized how unimportant it was. I had quite a day. We had crepes today, and I had to get home to get a delivery. And I get home, and my glasses fell apart, right? So I'm sitting here, I'm like, God damn it. And the screw is still in my glass here. So I take the screw out, and I have these big gorilla fingers, and I'm trying to put the screw in, and the screw falls into my keyboard, right? Nice. So now I have to take my entire keyboard apart, and I can't find this goddamn screw anywhere. And so as you can see, I never fixed it. They're still busted. I'm wearing my backup pair of glasses, but yeah, I don't know who invented such small screws, but man, not really designed for big gorilla fingers.
Or you just get a screwdriver with a magnet in it.
I know.
Probably would help you out a little bit there.
A little bit.
Yeah, I have one of those like every weird bit screwdriver sets.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a magnetic tip on all of them. That's very nice.
And I even had a little screwdriver for glasses, but it wasn't magnetized, which was disappointing. So now I don't know if the screw's in here. I don't know if it fell out, but I don't hear it anymore.
The cat ate it.
All right, are we done?
Yep, I'm done.
So I get my boob examined next week. I haven't even told John about that. I don't know why I disclosed that on the show, but
I mean, it makes a good intro.
That's going to be an interesting intro. Yeah. A little stressful, but
sounds like it. You said so. I'll save it for later.
No,
oh no, I want to hear.
Well, we're still recording. I don't really want to bring it up now.
We're still broadcasting.
Oh yeah, no, we